Pack racing, crashes, a great finish, pissed off Kyle Busch. Atlanta really had it all this Sunday. Welcome back to Real Talk Racing. My name is Connor. Hope y'all are doing great today because what we just saw was one of the best Atlanta races we've seen at that venue in a long time. This race was great, but at the same time, it somewhat worries me. But I don't want to ramble on about that just yet. First, let's just talk about what we saw on track. Atlanta performed kind of how we expected it to. It was a baby Daytona. So basically Daytona, but more narrow, less training around the top, and a lot more tighter. From a fan watching this at home on TV, I gotta say, it was very entertaining. Atlanta in the last couple years hasn't been the greatest place to watch races. Literally just last year, there was a red flag because the track was breaking, so this track desperately needed a repave. But they decided to add more banking and give us the Super Speedway Daytona package for this race, and it turned out pretty entertaining. From a fan's view, this was very entertaining, but some of the drivers, such as Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin, were very vocal about how they felt. Even going back to last year, a lot of the drivers did not want to repave. The one thing drivers loved about Atlanta was the fact that it was so hard on your tires and you were just slipping and sliding all over the place. So when drivers heard they were basically turning it into a mini super speedway, a lot of drivers and some fans were very critical of NASCAR. You can make the argument that it does take less skill, which I can kind of agree with that. I mean, just look at the top 5. You had drivers like Corey LaJoie finishing 5th. That is not something you typically see on a normal race, say at Kansas or Chicagoland when it was still on the schedule, or Vegas. Definitely a lot better for these smaller teams to run up front at these races. Definitely a lot easier for them. But it was still a very entertaining race at the end of the day. Something that does worry me, though, is the part shortage going on right now in NASCAR. Teams are unable to get parts in for the cars, so they have very little backup cars or very little room to spare in that department. And we saw almost 30 damaged cars in this race, so if I'm a team owner, I am not a fan of this at all. Storehouse Racing has 4 cars and literally only brought 1 backup car to almost every race in the West Coast swing, so that tells you how bad it is. But it was a really good finish despite the fact that my least favorite driver won. I absolutely hate William Byron.
Block his ass!
But that's just why he's the GOAT.
Ah! Son of a bitch!
Finish was awesome. We saw Ross Chastain for the 3rd week in a row gunning for the win. That guy's going to get one soon. Christopher Bell did finish 2nd, but he went below the yellow line according to NASCAR. You could say that he got shoved down by Ross Chastain, but ultimately Christopher Bell was the one getting penalized for it. Ryan Blaney was up there on the final restart and with about 2 to go, but he got loose and went up into the outside wall. And William Byron, who won stage 1 and for the most part dominated this race, is your winner. Very edge of the seat final few laps, very entertaining. And you could make the argument that this is not as good as old Atlanta. But if we got the repave, it would have been just another Texas. It would not have been what we saw today. It would not have been multi-group racing. It would have just been single file training down the bottom. It would not have been entertaining. So I also want to touch up on something that kind of worries me is NASCAR has done this in the past. Oversaturate the schedule with one thing. Atlanta is great. Daytona is great. Talladega is great. Fans can all agree that these races are very exciting. They are huge spectacles to watch. But kind of what they did with mile and a halves in the early 2000s, it's very possible that they start oversaturating the schedule with these races. ISC, the company that owns Atlanta Motor Speedway and a lot of other tracks, also owns tracks like Texas and Vegas. Texas Motor Speedway is something I want to look at because that track has been terrible, and everyone knows that. Everyone knows the racing at Texas is awful. They can barely even get a crowd there. It's just not a good track. So with this race doing as well as it did, something tells me that ISC is really looking at turning Texas into a baby Daytona or Talladega, and that's why I gotta pump the brakes. Do not oversaturate the schedule. We need actual races that don't see Rick Ware cars up inside the top 10 every week. At some point, if they start oversaturating the schedule with these type of races, a lot of drivers are not going to be happy, which some of them already are not happy at all. And NASCAR's not going to be taken as seriously because basically any team can go out there and win. And that also brings me to the playoff format, which I want to make a video on very soon. The win in your in system, you could have, say, in 2021, Michael McDowell won the Daytona 500. Very deserving for him. He's a great racer. But he did not deserve that playoff spot, I'd say. Yeah, he won the race, but everyone knew he was going to be out in the round of 16 in the playoffs. So if you have a driver like that, say like Todd Gilliland, or someone who runs really far back, like a Rick Ware car, to give them a higher opportunity to win, and they do just that, you are wasting a playoff spot for a competitive team and driver. That is just something I really don't like. I really just don't want to see NASCAR add too many super speedways and absolutely flood the schedule. But I thought Atlanta was very entertaining. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. If you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you for watching. Go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All links are in the description. I have a couple new videos planned coming in the future. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.